All right, let's get some business news now with my man Edward Boyd. Ed, good to see you in our studio. How lucky for me today. Yeah, exactly. So overnight, the US inflation numbers for Feb were released. These stats, the final piece of the puzzle before the US Fed Reserve's
Well, these Fed Reserve meetings are taking a lot more precedence this year because it is the election year in America, and the inflation numbers last night came in a little bit hotter than expected, around 3.4% at an annualised rate, but some of the big things like food was stable or going down in cost. But the US Fed, right now, the expectation still is they're going to start potentially cutting rates in June. You think back to 6 months ago, the expectation was March. This month right now, they'd potentially be cutting rates. But it's been pushed back by about 3 months because inflation in America hasn't come down as quickly as all the economic forecasters expect.
Having so much more difficulty there than here, aren't they? So what do we do? What's the expectation with the RBA now? We've got all these figures that are lending to the argument that there's going to be cuts eventually.
There's a lot of economists suggesting we're going to get some cuts later this year, and those views haven't changed. So I know CBA's chief head economist, Gareth Ed, thinks September. We're going to hear from Governor Bullock, Michelle Bullock, the head of the Reserve Bank, next week because it's another cash rate decision. It's pretty weird. This is going to be the first one, not on a Tuesday. Well, sorry, on a Tuesday, but not the second one of the year. But it's going to be on the 19th of March as opposed to the first week of March, which is what usually happens. So that's next week. Expectation is rates will be on hold, but we will probably see some cuts, hopefully September.
Yeah. Tricky working out this new regime.
Yeah, every 6 weeks. It's kind of like, it's the same way the US Fed does it.
Yeah,
and
which makes sense.
We just got to get used to it.
So September, I have an inkling it might be before then. Are you buying into that? Or
look, I'm hopeful it'll be before then because inflation is coming down pretty quickly now in Australia. Our peak of inflation was much lower than America. We were 7.8%, they were 9.1%. And we're already basically equal footing with the US where inflation is here. It's around the 3.4% in January. So I've got a good hope that rates may potentially come down early.
And of course, people had said recently, hey, the RBA didn't need to do that last rise.
Yeah, well, that was one of the big things in the previous press conference 6 weeks ago. There was a few questions. Did you do that? Was that unnecessary? Was that a big mistake? And the governor, of course, obviously said no, it was the right thing to do looking at the data. But there's a lot of people now, that argument has really got a lot of traction in the last couple of weeks. So expect her to answer plenty more questions about that on Tuesday.
So this point might be a factor. Overseas arrivals. Where's that going to be?
Look, it's almost back to pre-COVID levels. That was in the month of December. We're going to get the January figures tomorrow. Roughly 1.7 million arrivals and 2 million departures. It's a sign the tourism market's really strong. There's more people coming to Australia. They're spending money in the economy. They're helping out businesses. That's a good thing.
Tax receipts.
Exactly. Taxation as well.
Loves that. Good to see you, Ed.
Thanks, Pete.